Okay, so I've laid the frame around the table saw. Obviously the table saw is going to sit on top of this, and this frame is going to sit on some plywood on each corner, and then the casters. And then I'm going to add bits onto the front for a, what do they call that? Off-ramp thing, and on the side as well. But I'm going to do that later. This distance, I think, is 700. So that's what I'm going to do. So it's 700 by about 730, I think. Okay, so I cut those side pieces down to 700. So now I have a platform 700 by 730, which I think I can make work. And then the thing is that everybody puts pocket screws in here and here and down here and here. But I'm normally a big fan of dowels, but I've never had any success, and I might just need a bigger dowel jig, but putting a side on, or an end on to a side on. So I had a random thought. I do have a pocket hole jig drill thingy, so I'm going to use that to mark out where to put a couple of screws at each end of those, but actually just use normal wood screws to put, not pocket screws. Okay. So just looking at this and thinking, it looks quite low, but I've got 145 to put on top of that for the casters, plywood underneath the casters, and the top, that'll go on there. And then the table saw on the top of that, which is 325. So here's my calculations. I want it to be 860 high, 100 for the casters, ply under the casters, the top, then the saw. So that meant my leg height was 392. So I think that's right. So I wanted it to be 860 because my two old table saws, they're at about 860. Okay, so that was a really good example that I've learned, which is when things don't feel right or it sort of semi-started smoking or whatever, then stop. And in that case, there was a little sliver that had, I don't know, screwing up the blade or something. So I stopped, took the sliver out, and then carried on, and it was fine. Okay, so there we go. I've marked out each of the corners. Sort of not sure it looks like enough, which is why I say I hate these things. It's all about your spatial awareness, I think. Anyway, I'm going to get my jigsaw out, bash them out, and then hopefully it's going to fit. Well, there we go, it fitted perfectly. It's just a scrap piece of MDF, so it's a bit bouncy, but it'll screw down just fine. So that's pretty cool. Okay, with the top on, I've screwed it all down. You don't want to see that, it's just really boring watching me screw stuff. I was just looking at so what's going to happen next is I'm going to cut these down, and these are going to be like supports for the top. And I think they're actually quite important because the table saw isn't light. So you can imagine, let me get these clamps out of the way, just pretend these are up the other way. And then this is going to go on the top, like that. So that sort of makes more sense to give it some support for the top. But I did notice that the legs are not super secure. I just stuck a couple of screws in them. So I'm just going to undo the screws, grab some glue, and then re-glue and screw them. And just clamp them up, and I think that'll be a lot better, so I'm just going to do that now. There we go, it's all clamped up. I'm actually not sure whether it's going to make much of a difference, but it's worth a shot, and I think that's pretty good progress. So it's a couple of days later. I'm just going to undo these clamps. These clamps, just out of interest, my son, who's what, 30 something or other, 34, he calls them boomer clamps because he prefers the ones like this, which is fine. And I actually do prefer these ones because they seem to be a more positive grip. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a small thing like that, a small piece up there to rest these rails on, and then when I've on top of these rails will be the top that the table saw sits on. And then this morning I went off and bought, I don't know where I put them, my casters. So I've got these casters, so I measured all this up. So this is a caster with a lock, and it's 95mm finished height. So that's all of my calculations. Okay, so I glued and screwed those two side ones on, and I cut these two to go across, which is good. You can see there that, see, even though I measured it properly. So I just put a spacer underneath it. And then because I decided to just use that wood that had that bit taken out of it, I just needed to put a packer in. Otherwise it would have bowed in, which I didn't really want, as you can see there. So that's all good. So I'm going to use the pocket hole jig just to get the holes, 2 holes at each end of these 2 pieces, to get them on the right angle. And then just use my my 75mm screws. I might tip it upside down, might make it easier to actually get the screws on. And then I think it is cut some plywood to go underneath the casters, and maybe even put the casters on. So I'm putting the last 2 screws in. I had to put it on its side because I tried to do it the other way around, but I couldn't see anything. So, and as luck would have it, that one on the left and this one on the right here, when I put the screws in, they both hit other screws. So I'm just going to have to go old school and start it off square and then angle it in, and just to make it work, because I'm not going to put another. Okay, so I ended up just putting another pocket hole on the inside. Just I held it on by hand, slightly dangerous, but so yeah. So that is the top there. It is a beast. It is not going anywhere. I need to actually check the weight categorization for the casters. What does it say? 50 kilos. Maybe I need stronger ones. I might do. Anyway, that's the bottom there. So that MDF is very dense and very heavy. That's the top, so I think I'll flip it onto its top, and then I need to do my find some MDF or maybe ply for the top. Okay, so just I'm going to put some ply on the corners. I found a nice piece of plywood. I think I'm going to do it like that, maybe, like that. For just a bit of extra. I actually don't know what it's going to achieve, but I saw somebody else do it and I thought, maybe that's a good idea. I think because it bridges the 2 sides. So I'm just going to glue and screw the plywood, and then I bought some extra heavy casters. They are rated 70 kilos because it was starting to get heavy, and then with 30 kilos of the thing on, and then the out feed table and the side feed table, I thought I should go big. Go big or go home. Okay, this is pretty exciting because I have a trolley on wheels for a table saw. That's pretty cool. Does exactly what it says on the tin, I think. If I can find a stop. Might have put them too far under, but let's see. There we go. Whoop. There's the lock. Locked in position. So I'm really pleased about that. I think I'm going to put the table saw on there just as a trial. Well, there we go. All I need to do is put a top on it. And I'm just wondering that I should put some cross beams on to support the top. But I think with the one in the middle will be fine. But you can see it goes. So I'm pretty excited. I'm going to just check the height. So it looks reasonably low, but let me check. Okay, so this is, you can see there, 875, 860. Let's see, 865. I have different casters, so I know it'll be a bit higher, but here are my calculations. Here are my calculations here, and I wanted it 860 high, but I've got a different set of casters. So I think that these casters are higher, taller. So with a 20mm MDF or something on the top, I think it'll be perfect. Okay, there's the MDF cut and put on the top, which is quite exciting. I didn't make it cover these outside bits here because I think they might be handy when I do my outfeeds, both on the left hand side and at the front. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with that. Just going to screw it all down and put the table saw on to figure out how to attach the table saw to the top as well. Well, there you go. There is my table saw on its stand. It's a mobile stand. I might just push it. There we go. And it is 870 mils high, which is 10 mils than what I thought it would, what I planned it to be. But I think that's because the casters are a bit bigger. So I am pretty happy with that. I'm actually really pleased to get it off my workbench. So the plans in the future are a side outfeed table. I don't know what you'd call that. A side table, foldable, and a outfeed table, collapsible outfeed table as well. But that is for future. Anyway, I'm pretty pleased with what I managed to do. I said I was going to build a mobile bench for my table saw, and I did. It's not pretty, but who cares?